There were three core values that really guided our work, and we established them really early on. One was that we would make really good grants, and really good meant, and we came to define that more, but strong grants that would support anti-racist and anti-Black racist work. That was the first pillar. The second was that the grants would be inclusive in some way of all of our staff, give all of our staff an opportunity to participate in the grant making process. And the third was that it would not be overly burdensome to our administrative staff. That we wanted to do this in a way that wouldn't just have, all of the burden and pressure rolling downhill to that group at the end of the year when they have a lot of other pressures on them. So we were trying to balance all three of those interests. And I think we kept those front and center at every step of the way. Those were touch points for us as we went. And I would say before we launched into the doing, the planning for each of those actually was quite important, and coming up with the articulated values and the design before we did anything mattered a lot. And so, I think we started, it was Jasmine's idea to have an advisory council. I don't know, Jasmine, if you want to talk about that idea.
Sure. I just, we were going back and forth about how to do this. And I privately, my concern was I don't want to be the only person who's speaking on this. I don't want to be the only Black voice on this. And I don't know that I totally trusted that Larry and Fay were gonna consult everyone. Meanwhile, they were speaking to everybody. I mean, it was like everybody that I went to, they had got to before I had. But I was a little bit concerned about just bearing the weight of it. And so I thought, well, who am I gonna ask for advice on these grants? And it was the other Black people at Hewlett. So, without being crass, I just thought, well, if the goal is to represent our philanthropy in the way that we do it and lift up solutions to anti-Black racism, why not start in-house? And we use advisory councils for almost everything else. And so it just seemed apropos to what we were trying to accomplish, but also a really meaningful way to demonstrate sort of this commitment from the inside out, not just to me, but to other folks at Hewlett.
When Jasmine initially shared that idea with me, I thought that's a pretty interesting idea. I think it's a good idea, but I'm not sure, because there was so much going on at that time where I needed to question my own intuitions about different things, and this was one of them. And I touched base with a few colleagues, a few of our African American Black colleagues, to say, this is what we're thinking about. Do you think this is a good idea? And each of them thought, yes, it's a good idea. And then they added to it. So actually, even in that early exploratory phase, they added to it, like, okay, if you're going to do education work, make sure that everybody who gets to be included in the voting and the nomination, and the staff has to participate in the education work. And when you're talking, here's how you might name the council, and here's different aspects of how you might run. Anyway, all of that was great, but it gave me more confidence that yes, this actually is a good idea, and that we would. And when I was talking to somebody, I was saying, yes, it would be sort of in the frame of nothing about us without us. And she said, say that, say it that way, because that really conveys that this is really an honor, not a burden. And that was what we were trying to do. But everything about this, it could go into a way of being really positive, or it could have been very fraught. And taking the advice even early on for the people who would later become members of the council turned out to be really important.
This is one of the things about participatory grant making that I think, which was very much the inspiration for the design. That's one of those things you have to experience, I think, before you can explain. And then I've been studying this sort of type of grant making for a year now. And there were all these, unarticulated benefits that I've been trying to get at. And one of them is the design of the system is really intricate. Like you have to get all these inputs and different feedback points and, oh, can this work? And does this work? But what I did notice is that as we started taking more inputs, the system kind of built itself. And so what I mean when I say that is taking the input of advisory council members in the design phase meant that once we were in the advisory council space, a lot of the concerns that people have, like conflict of interest or unarticulated goals, we'd already designed out for, because we had talked to them early enough that we knew what this needed to be. And funnily enough, to Fay's point, a lot of our advisory council members were very quick to articulate where points of conflict of interest could be before we even started. They're like, well, why are you doing this? Are you very clear on what the sort of reasoning is for why staff should be on this advisory council? I think that really pushed us to articulate a design that then once we got going, it was just about maintaining. It was really interesting to see in motion.